Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. First, Rachel Maddow and Stephen Colbert claim that Republicans are plotting to get rid of elections. Apparently, the real threat to democracy is the guy who keeps insisting on having one. Then, Bill Gates says that millions of children will die if USAID is defunded, which is interesting considering most of USAID's budget goes to overthrowing their governments. Next, Bernie Sanders defends flying private jets on his Fighting the Oligarchy tour. He said, "No apologies." Of course not. Hypocrisy is now considered a highly sought-after progressive virtue. We've got the clip. And finally, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz warns that Trump will soon be marching in a military uniform. When Walz said that, even his imaginary war buddies rolled their eyes. Okay, let's dive in. Rachel Maddow and Stephen Colbert say that Republicans want to get rid of elections. Yes, the same Republicans who won't shut up about election integrity apparently now don't want elections at all.
In 18 months.
Yeah.
That worries me. Yeah. Not that they're not worried, but that they don't think that they should be worried because maybe they don't have to worry about an election at all.
Yeah. He's fighting against the democratic process. He doesn't think there should be elections. That's consolidating all power in one man. That's authoritarianism. And that's what you do when you don't ever want to have an election because you want to stay in power for life.
So Trump wants to be president for life? Well, that's funny. I don't recall him canceling elections when he had the chance, unlike some people's primaries I could mention. Or did I just miss the primary where Kamala got all the votes? If Trump was plotting to be president for life, leaving the White House the first time was a serious tactical error. But he's learned his lesson and he won't leave this time. You can't point to any evidence whatsoever that he's leaving office when his term ends.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. There are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican to carry it forward.
Breaking: the worst power-hungry authoritarian in history relinquishes power twice. Clearly, this is all part of his diabolical plan to voluntarily leave office. The fiendish brilliance of those fascists. In a recent interview, Bill Gates accused Elon Musk of killing the world's poorest children by cutting USAID funding. Gates said this: "The picture of the world's richest man killing the world's poorest children is not a pretty one." In this clip, Bill Gates says that if DOGE cuts aren't reversed, 2 million lives will be lost.
Now with these cuts, if they're not reversed, we'll go to over 6 million dying. So instead of going down, we'll go back up.
Wow. So it's a difference of 2 million lives.
Absolutely.
Gates warns that cutting USAID will cost 2 million lives. You know who could save 2 million lives? A guy worth $200 billion. USAID, where one hand gives vaccines and the other installs surveillance equipment for the CIA. No wonder Gates is such a fan. Bernie Sanders was recently asked about flying on private jets during his Fighting the Oligarchy tour, but he quickly defended himself and said that he's making no apologies for it.
You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years.
Bernie's flying private jets to fight the oligarchy? That's kind of like fighting obesity by launching a donut tour. Let's see how Bernie responds.
You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
Bernie won't wait in line at United because 30,000 people are waiting for him. You know who else doesn't wait in lines? Oligarchs. But at least they admit they like capitalism. At this point, the only difference between Bernie Sanders and Jeff Bezos is that Bezos doesn't pretend to like poor people. On MSNBC's The Briefing, Tim Walz recently claimed that we will soon be seeing President Trump wearing a military uniform because he's taking the U.S. towards authoritarianism.
I see Donald Trump, and I said it many months ago, that he will eventually try and incarcerate political opponents. Look, we're going to have a military parade for him. I was only half tongue-in-cheek saying this guy will be in a military uniform before long. He is fully headed towards authoritarianism.
You'll have to forgive Tim Walz. He spends a lot of time imagining men in uniform, which makes sense. He's been cosplaying as a combat veteran for decades. Thanks for watching Headlines. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.